Welcome into the official, everybody. We got a great show for you this week, per usual. And this week, we're getting back into the high school recap. We are getting into weeks 10 and 11 for these teams, really coming to the end of the season for the high school season. A lot of these guys will be going on to playoffs, and some, unfortunately, will not be, and their season will be over. We've been bringing you updates all along the way. Some of them have been impactful, where guys have really slid down our rankings based on what we're seeing in their senior season. So let's get right to it. We'll check out what's going on weeks 10 and 11. This is the official. All right, here we go. The official, continuing to recap the high school comings and goings, if you will, of all these seniors. Before we get started, of course, I got to throw a shout out to homefieldapparel.com. This is our partner in crime. And if you put in the campus #2 Canton promo code, you will get 15% off your first purchase of some of the absolute best college gear around. They try to make it kind of vintagey. They go through all the old motifs and vibes, if you will, for the schools, dating way back all the way into the early days and some more recent stuff as well. But it's all comfortable and show off your style with a unique way that these mascots and color schemes are presented over at Home Field Apparel. Go there, check it out, get the discount. All that's good stuff. And then, of course, check out campus2canton.com, our parent website. This is a free show we do to help you follow along when recruiting. However, we've got tools, fantasy rankings, we've got articles, we've got some betting stuff over there, some prop, tools as well to hopefully help you in your wagering, if that's your thing, but also just in setting your lineups, some player projection tools and all that, starting as low as $2.99 per month and going up from there. So check out campus2canton.com, of course. With that out of the way, weeks, I believe it is 10 and 11 is what we're going to go over. Guys, how far till playoffs here? I mean, the average high school team does what, 12 weeks of regular season? So we're almost there.
Yeah, I think most East Coast teams, at least, just did their last game of regular season.
Okay. We're getting pretty close to the end of the regular season here. A lot of these guys will obviously be going on to the playoffs, hopefully carrying their teams to the playoffs. Some of them won't, but we'll have some more highlights and updates as we get there. And what has become a reoccurring theme here, DJ Lagway having one of the better senior seasons. I mean, I don't know. You guys are maybe a little more on the pulse. Like, is this an all-time senior season with how many touchdowns he's scored and all this? In Texas at least, or maybe even nationally? I mean, it feels like he's going 6+ touchdowns every single week.
Yeah, he's been going nuts this year. He's actually in rare company right now. I just took a little gander through the old QB database, and for quarterbacks with over 200 pass attempts, they have 150 max Prex QBR, above 15 adjusted yards per attempt, and have played a strength of schedule over 15. It's just him, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, and Gunnar Stockton. Good company to be with. I'm not going to make any huge conclusions on that, but so that's interesting. But this past game, he had 220 yards rushing, which is that's got to be his best rushing game for sure, I would think. To me, he looks like I kind of mentioned it in a previous episode. I think he looks a little faster. I'm pretty sure the mile per hour he had on is like 20.1 maybe.
Yeah, I actually just retimed him today on the first run, and he was at 20.9.
Okay.
20.9, yeah. Okay, so that's good. So he's got a little more juice than we originally had thought, so that's good as far as running goes. And like the arm talent is just so that there's a unique pass there, just a little jump pass there for like 50 air yards or whatever it was. So his arm talent's crazy. The footwork, it's a work in progress, but he's definitely pretty crazy talented.
Crazy talented, putting up stats, there's an ability to run the ball, though I still contend style-wise looks a little bit more like, your Tebow runner rather than your Lamar Jackson runner. Even though it's nice to see him hit 20 plus miles per hour, that's great. So that's the only quarterback we've got. I think we talked a little bit either last week or the week before, just how he is, he's in that triumvirate. It's him, Sayan, and Raiola. And he has, started out, I think, clearly a tier below. And now, as I think in most of our eyes, has pushed himself into a trio there of very sought after QBs in this class. I think if you're heading towards a draft, you're looking at those three guys, take your pick, but basically going to be thrilled if you land on one of those three guys in this class. Matt, would you agree with that? We're all kind of in agreement there with the three at the top.
Yeah. I've been kind of pushing that for a little bit now. Once Aaron Nolan kind of dropped off for me.
Yeah.
And for me, it's really starting becoming a clear 2 with him and Raiola, just because they have the physical upside, whereas I think Sayan's lacking a tiny bit there, but still a very, very good quarterback prospect in his own right.
Okay, there we go. Moving on to running backs.
We do have we have some more QB notes here.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I was looking at just the yes. Thanks for keeping me honest. Okay. I think that might be our only video. However,
most of these we can just run down real quick.
Well, Will Hammond is a guy who is a little up and down. In the beginning, we were thrilled. He was going crazy. Then he had a few down weeks, but now looks like he's back up to posting some crazy numbers in Texas high school football. We like that. Matt, take it away with Will Hammond.
Yeah, I mean, it's just same old. He's just, in that offense there, I believe Alado out of Texas, just insane numbers every week. I think it's mostly just an offense thing. He does have a wide receiver there by the name of Alex Green, who I think just got his first Power 5 offer in Northwestern or Stanford. I can't recall which one.
Northwestern, yeah.
But,
I think
he's a Morgan Hooks guy. He's been, insanely productive this year. So a sleeper name to look out for there. But yeah, I mean, just absurd numbers. Does he replicate that in the college? Definitely not. But I think he's a good, solid, consistent quarterback.
Okay. David, let's see. We got a flip and a guy who I guess looks like might be pretty interesting. Carson Gordon goes from UNLV to a pretty premium or premium adjacent program in UCLA. I hate to say probably not premium anymore, but a lot more prestige than UNLV. What is up with Carson Gordon? I don't feel like we've talked about him too much. Stats look good to me.
Yeah, he's been committed to UNLV for quite some time. When we started to put together the athletic data on this class, like he jumped pretty early on because of his triple jump. He's best in the country last year, nearly 51.5 feet, which is pretty crazy. Has like a perfect kind of body type for that, like pretty like slender. I think he's like 6 foot, 6'1", 175. But yeah, he's putting up crazy numbers. 28 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he's got like 700 yards rushing and another 8 on the ground. Honestly, I didn't think he'd like be a quarterback prospect for a Power 5 team. Maybe his arm has improved. I haven't watched his senior tape yet, but his VOE was dead last based off of Matt's data at negative 1.54 velocity over expectations. So his
not great
best pass was not even in the positives there, and his max velocity looks like about 42.8 miles per hour, which is it's a noodle. And I don't know. We'll have to look at his senior tape, so maybe it's improved. I'm not sure.
Okay, but kind of an athletic freak. And, honestly, UCLA might not feel urgency to get a premium or the ability to spend the NIL money or whatever. They've got Dante Moore for at least 2 more years. This could be a filler class at QB for UCLA. And then finally, we've got Haas Haney, a guy we've loved. Looks like he's had a bit of a valley in his season now. Had a pretty rough game, 9 of 18, 0 touchdowns, 3 picks against Denton Ryan, which is a good team in Texas. But he did go 21-93-1 and got a dub for his team. You love that. And honestly, the more and more I think about it for fantasy and C2C, where you are worried about 3 or 4 years of college production. Like, let's not pretend the NFL is the only thing you need to think about. Haas Haney is probably going to be pretty awesome. Like, he's going to be very, very exciting. He should be one of the first quarterbacks I think we think about when the NFL bound talent comes off the board, because when you can struggle as a passer and still put down, I mean, at the college level, it might be a little less, but 15 to 18 rushes, put up 100 yards. That's great. I mean, there's plenty of weekly guys that do stuff like that. I mean, Daquan Finn does stuff like that, and he's a great college starter over at Toledo. So if he and the tape backs it up, I think, that he will be able to be a threat on the ground. So Haas Haney, sorry for your difficult showing there, but I'm still in, I think.
Are you worried about you have Ty Hawkins in your top 5 next year, though? Are you worried about that at all?
That's a good point. I think that's a little bit far out to be too worried about it. Flips happen, decommitments happen, transfers happen. Like, I think that would be a little bit too aggressively, like, assuming that I know what's going to happen. I think you can kind of just bet on what you see in front of you right now. Okay, moving towards running backs. David, let's see. I'm going to give you David Eziomume because we both like him quite a bit. And he's looking okay. After a slow start, he's really put together a nice second half of the season, and his whole season stats are starting to look a little more presentable, even when you think about the slow start at the beginning.
Yeah, we finally found numbers on him, which took a bit of digging. So through 6 games, I think he's missed a couple with injury, but he's got about 175 yards per game, over 2 touchdowns per game on the ground, and he's averaging 7.85 yards per carry. I think the efficiency is, I usually prefer to see like a little higher than that, but he is playing like a strong schedule. Last I checked, his SOS was in like the 40s, which is very, it's well above average. So I'm totally fine with that. We don't have receiving numbers on him or anything. I assume they're fine too, because he was a good receiver last year. So he's kind of checking the boxes with like athleticism, production, and his film is pretty solid too. So good prospect.
Yeah, and I think he's put enough receiving on tape to know he can do it. And Matt, we were talking about this in the chat this week, I believe, or late last week, but his season average is 7.85, and that is a little lower than we'd like to see. Usually 9, getting up to the 10 range, but 7.85 is not, kind of nail in the coffin type level, is it?
No, it's definitely not nail in the coffin. But like David was saying, you want to see a little bit better. In our database, the average drafted running back over the past like 5 years or so was averaging 9.5 yards per carry against like mid-20s strength of schedule. So definitely want to see a little bit more. He is playing, superior competition than most. So you can, cut him some slack there a bit. But you'd always like to see more.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with you there. And I'll keep you on the horn here to talk about Jordan Lyle. We've talked a decent amount about, I believe, his classmate over going to Ohio State, and Lyle's also going to Ohio State. But we've talked more about James Peoples. Jordan Lyle coming out of the kind of a factory down there, St. Thomas Aquinas. And what do we have to talk about with Lyle here? Looking like he had a pretty massive week last week, or at least maybe a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, in terms of bulk production, he probably has, best week ever. 16 carries, 230 yards, 5 touchdowns, which is really good considering, he's playing very, very high-end competition. Over the past 2 seasons, he's averaged 11.2 yards per carry, which, it's really significantly higher than what some other St. Aquinas guys were doing in James White and Giovanni Bernard and, pretty much anybody else who's played there. I don't think anybody else is. David, you could probably correct me. I don't remember the exact numbers. But I don't think anyone else was above 9. So he's pretty, out of everyone else's ballpark there in terms of just pure efficiency. He hasn't got a ton of bulk like the others, but it's the efficiency really is crazy considering the level of competition he is playing.
Fair enough. And I think I know I was gassing up James Peoples recently, but neither one of James Peoples nor Lyle seems to have maybe that 3-down workhorse potential, but I think either one can be part of a committee. And that's realistically, that's probably what you're going to see with a lot of teams, especially the premium programs that just stack blue chips on top of each other. I hope I'm not going to offend anyone. I don't know whose guy this is between the two of you, but just because of order of how we're going back and forth here, I'm going for David to talk about who in the show sheet is biggest sleeper running back in the country. Everyone listening, you're definitely going to want to turn up the volume for this. Damani Stewart, first time I'm hearing his name. Take it away, David. Who is this guy? Why is he the biggest sleeper in the country?
Yeah, Matt actually found this guy. I'll give him credit, of course. I think he came on the radar because one of I forget who it was, but someone got him. It might have been a catapult test, or I'm sure Matt, off the top of your head.
It was catapult.
Yeah, catapult got him at 22.2 miles per hour on a run. And we're talking about a guy who's 5'11", 212, and he's leading Texas 6A in rushing right now. So he's got 239 carries for over 1,700 yards, 7.2 average. Just it's okay. I don't know his SOS or anything off it, and 6 catches for 78 yards. But we gathered up a bunch of athletic data points on him, and he's actually in the 95th percentile. So he's pretty freaky, and he's only played football for 2 years, which I looked for like any background information I could find on him. And I don't know why he started. I don't know why he didn't play football until 2 years ago. I'm not really sure what was going on, if he was playing a different sport or not. But as far as we know, we know that he participated in track.
I mean, that acceleration right there past that safety was something.
Yeah, so he can accelerate. He's got the long speed. He's got the size we want. So I know his followers have gone up quite a bit on Twitter. Like recruiting teams and stuff are starting to follow him more, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I imagine he could be Power 5 quality, honestly. Like, given his entire profile, I think he probably ends up in the G5, but we shall see. But we do have a 4.46 40 on him, which makes sense with his mile per hour. And then 122 broad. Yeah, I mean, 535 squat. So yeah, he's a guy to watch out for to see if he should start getting offered.
Yeah, it looks like, just a quick perusal down his Twitter. He's gotten some stuff at North Texas, not like an offer, but he's been to a few games this year. It looks like he's been to a UNT camp. He did get an offer from Texas Southern, which is, I believe, FCS. But yeah, there's not even a lot going on there. He's got 172 followers on Twitter. Like, I don't even think he's got a profile on a recruiting site, one of the big ones. So absolute sleeper. Of course, you guys have that name first. Real Analytics is probably going to be putting out something for him next week. But yeah, great find, guys. Damani Stewart, let's follow him along. At this point, it would be awesome if he even wound up, G5, and we could say that we kind of called it early on. So looking forward to learning more about him. But like you said, it's not that hard to find the building blocks of a future, at least interesting running back. So we'll keep an eye out for Damani Stewart. All right, some less than exciting news. Kedron Young, a guy I really liked on the tape, but man, he is having a rough season. 23rd percentile in production this year, 5.7 average. Just not dominating the way that you'd want him to. he's one of these bigger guys with good straight line speed and a top speed, but may not have, some of the vision or agility to be, more creative at the next level. And then, this hurts to see. My guy, Kewan Lacey, 37th percentile of production, 7.1 yards per carry, and recently decommitted from Nebraska. So I know that Florida is at least interested, and I heard that Bama's sniffing around as well, but I'm not sure. He's from the state of Texas, so maybe he'll wind up at home. I still really like the highlight tape, of course, but seems like the body of work might leave a little to be desired there with Kewan Lacey, one of my favorite running backs in this class. Okay. I'll let you guys talk more about the exciting, happy stuff, and I'll just, bring down the room with the sad stuff. But all right, Matt, Brandon Phelps is a receiver who just recently broke a record held by Christian Kirk. So tell us about Brandon Phelps, and that is an exciting number. So, what's in store for him?
Yeah, so he's a wide receiver out of the state of Arizona. He's also committed to Arizona. And he's just been insanely productive throughout 4 years in high school. Broke the Arizona State's record for receptions, yards, and touchdowns, which pretty much all of them were held by Christian Kirk. He's not, super highly rated. I think he's just a really good player. I mean, his ball skills on tape are really fun, and he could be a decent downfield threat, although he isn't a dominant athlete. But good enough. He's in the average area. And, with Ted McMillan going away soon in Arizona, they'll be looking for their next guy. I think he could definitely eventually be it and be, at least definitely a solid CFF guy for the future.
I feel like now remembering Arizona and all that, I feel like he's made it on our show one other time. I feel like
we've talked about him before.
Okay. So he continues his march towards relevance and maybe will be one of our final, I think, 3 stars to watch out for when we get to that point and kind of collate all that. Holy cow, Cam Coleman, who I really like. David, what was his week 10? I don't know. Is there a typo there? That's insane.
Yeah, we were waiting for this type of eruption. In week 10, he had 8 catches for 293 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, he looks really fast here to me. He definitely broke some long plays, which is something I was looking for. He was also, his production was like pretty much in line with his teammate up until this game, Dalen Upshaw, who's I think on3 is wide receiver 101 for the 2025 class. So it's just good, especially because we had production concerns on him last year with Carmelo English. Kind of, I think he might have outproduced him last year. So, anyways, he looks pretty springy here. He looks fast. Ball skills are good. I still kind of question like his football IQ and stuff, but he's definitely pretty freaky.
Awesome. Yeah, I like Cam Coleman, but I think he's one of those guys where the full game tape shows a little less excitement than the actual highlights. So let's go to Matt. Let's talk about Perry Thompson, because he's a guy that I think was he committed to Alabama, or at least
Yes.
So he was fully committed. Then he decommitted. And he went to Auburn, which from a fantasy lens is way less exciting. But I do think he's a good looking prospect. And then I feel like you drafted him, I think, in the 2nd round of our mock last time. So you've got him ranked fairly high as well. So tell me what you think about him, and then also why he's on our list today with a pretty nice, some pretty nice stats here for 2023.
Yeah, I might have been underrating him a tiny bit, especially athletically. I thought he was a good athlete, maybe not a great or amazing athlete. Just before we were able to get him at 21.7 miles per hour off his senior tape. He doesn't have a ton of tape out, but the ones he does, just these flying 60, 70, 80 yard plays. David actually did a breakup here too. Last season he had 2 catches for over 50 yards. on 87 catches. And then this year he's already at 5 over 50 yards on only 53 catches. So, big play wise, he's gone up. He's looking fast. He's a very fluid athlete. He's a good mover as his size. He's 205 pounds around there, I think. 6'2", 6'3". So I think there's a lot to like there. He's not super refined, but I think he's good enough and pretty good after the catch too.
Okay, Perry Thompson slowly crawling up the rankings here as a group. And then David, a guy I've liked a whole lot, who also just decommitted, so he is uncommitted right now, is Draylon Miller. And at one point I had him in my top 3, I believe, and he kind of fell down a little bit. I know Matt cited some, I think, hands issues, but it looks like he's doing pretty well. And tell us about last week with Draylon Miller and what you're thinking.
Yeah, he's having another really productive season. Last week he had 6 catches for 168 yards and a touchdown, and he had a 40-yard rush, which is good too. So they're using him in multitude of ways. Still plays on special teams as well. So kind of does a little bit of everything. I think he even plays defense. So he's just one of these jack of all trades type guys. And as you can see, his yak is pretty fun. So it's just sort of a lot of kind of what we already know, basically.
Okay, fair enough. And on or 24/7 has him crystal balled right now to Texas A&M. It would be pretty exciting for them to pair with Cam Coleman in this class, but we'll see where he winds up. I think he's friends with DJ Lagway, and there's some whispers about Lagway being on him, but we'll just have to see.
I've also heard LSU too. They might be pretty on him as well.
LSU, yeah, they recruit Texas really well, so that would be exciting for fantasy.
And just a note on him, I think his production has actually been not so great overall this season. He has another teammate, I don't recall his name. He's not a big name recruit, but he's been pretty much neck and neck with him throughout the season statistically. So
okay.
I was a little bit concerned with that, but it's good to see, he had a really big game this week.
Okay. Yeah, good to see. Good to see. All right. And then finally, Ryan Wingo, a guy that, we've said has all the athletic gifts, but has not necessarily looked as great as a receiver on the field. Was previously committed to, I think, Missouri, decommitted, or he was not committed, but everyone
he was never committed.
Missouri, yeah. I think. Everyone figured Missouri. And now he's committed to Texas. But do we think that we'd actually prefer Missouri right now? I mean, their offense looks great. Texas looks okay, but they're spreading the ball out at Texas, and Xavier Worthy's getting, the lion's share, I would say there. Would we have preferred Missouri with Burden out in 2025?
I think pretty easily. I think it's going to be easy for him to get overshadowed there in that Texas wide receiver room. And, just staying home state with the NIL probably would have made more sense too, just in general. Obviously, maybe he just didn't care about the money. That's fine. But it's hard for me to project him because at the moment I think he's just an oversized gadget player. So I think he's going to have to get scheme touches. And I think that's much less likely to happen at Texas than it would Missouri.
Okay, fair enough. All right, and so I'm glad, Matt, that you put on here some Gavin Hoffman highlights. He is going to be one of my very top tight ends in the class. He's going to Iowa. We love that. I mean, with the rise of Sam Laporta now in the NFL this year, like Iowa tight ends just seem to be an absolute lock. And so Gavin Hoffman, one of these guys that, that we've joked about, but like he's a total dog on the field. At tight end. He also does have athleticism. He has the ability to look at this like long pass play, but similar to Andrew Rappelier from a year ago, he just seems like an all-around really good player, ability to block, play on the line, and also athleticism. So I really like Gavin Hoffman, and then going to Iowa is kind of a stamp of approval. Although, will the departure of Brian Ferentz change that? I don't know. Maybe he's got some tight end magic dust that will exit stage left with him. And then David, Jaden Riddell looks like he had a really nice season or a really nice game a week ago, and he is going to Georgia. We like him, but he's been a little less production. We mentioned, I think, a week ago or two.
Yeah, his season numbers are down quite a bit actually. Their offense has been really bad this year actually. He kind of already answered. I don't think he really got any worse or anything. I think he already answered production questions for me last year because last year they had a senior quarterback who was competent. and he had a 3-star teammate, Jaden Doss, who's actually like not doing nothing at Nebraska. Like he's actually getting on the field. I don't know. He's not a qualifier for year 1-0 or whatever, but I think he's got like 6 for 50 or something like that. So he outproduced him last year, at the tight end. That's what you want to see. So like, he's like a 95th percentile athlete.
All right. Yeah, I think we still gotta like Riddell and going to Georgia. Even Oscar Delp looked pretty decent with Brock Bowers sideline last week. So, I think they're gonna just keep churning them out. Okay, well, that is your update for weeks 10 and 11. We got at least one new name out there. Don't forget Damani Stewart, running back. He could be a huge late season riser. You heard it here first on The Official. And we're going to get out of here, but thanks for tuning in. This has been The Official.